Hey everybody, it's Mark again, and I hope that you're enjoying these videos. I hope that you enjoyed the last video where I was working on that uh, unusual movement, a little swinger clock. I'm still waiting to hear back from my Black Forest group expert, but we're going to do something a little bit different today. And like I said, when you go to working on cuckoo clocks, you're going to get involved in other clocks also. And so I want you to kick back, relax, grab something to eat, grab something to drink, and let's learn things. I'm a very blessed person. I don't need to buy clocks anymore because I have people that give me clocks. My friend that I go see to help him out when he's stressed about repairing clocks, because I will not take money from him to help him out, he gives me items. Here's a German Regulator, a wall clock that he gave me, and I don't have one like it. And so I'm going to clean this up and repair it. It should have a top piece here, decorative top piece, but it doesn't. But I don't care. I love it. There's one that recently sold on Goodwill for $200. There's another one that sold for $150, and this was within the last few days. So for somebody to give me a $200 item, I'm a very blessed person. The glass is falling out, so I need to be careful here. They've got tape to secure the glass in, so I'm going to put this camera down and take that tape off and put the glass somewhere, and hopefully I don't break it. I got the glass out. I put it in my bathroom on a shelf. So anyway, I got the glass out. Here's the pendulum. It's extremely heavy pendulum. There's how it connects. The movement comes out by undoing these thumb screws here. There's one on each side. I don't know who the maker is, so we're finding all this out together. There's part of the clock. I found a dime. Woohoo! Wonder if this dime's worth anything. $1973. But anyway, this is a thumb screw here. Not for sure exactly where that goes yet. There's a nail. The gong sounds pretty cool. So we're going to have to clean up the case, but we're going to clean up the movement first. The movement out, you could tell it's it's an older movement because of the count wheel here. And it says HTHM. And there's a little bird on top of it. So I looked on the Mylius database. But we're going to take this apart and we're going to clean it up and put it back together. And as always, I got a container. You have to start by taking the hands off. And somebody put, looks like a straight pen, and it works. And for the tapered pen, for the hands. Then you have a flat washer and another washer. Minahan, they're pretty cool hands also. And then the hour hand. And the chimes does work, as you can see when I put the camera in the right spot. That was the hour. That was a half hour. So it plays on both the hour and the half hour. To take the bezel and the dial plate off, there's pins. So I'm going to go ahead and take those out now. Or try to. Tapered pen. There's 4 of them. Just like in the last Wuba clock that I worked on. This one's missing. This one is missing that's tapered pen, but there's one over here. And then to get the last one out, finally. Now I could take the dial plate off. I should be able to. Pretty heavy movement. And the dial plate the dial, center dial, would also come off by taking these pins out. And it's meant to be bent. This one's over here bent. And this trim around it would come off by, it's got little bitty brads type nails. You should be able to see the end of the nail right here, or brad, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to say it's porcelain. It's very heavy. Next step is to take the suspension spring off, which also has a tapered pin. trying to figure out which way it comes out. It comes out this way. And I typically break these suspension springs every time I work on this style of clock. To take the suspension leader out, I believe you unscrew this screw right here. I never did check the springs, so I think I'm going to do that before I go any further. Because, if they're broken, it's not going to work. They're both wound up tight. And the escapement wheel is working, as you could see, as I move the crutch assembly back and forth. So I'm going to put my movement stand legs on, then we're going to take the power down. But before I could put all these legs on, I need to take this bracket off. This bracket, remember, these are the thumb screws that I undid to take the movement out of the case. And there are two screws, one here and one here, to take this bracket off. With a washer. My friend who gave me this clock got a deal on purchasing several of these clocks. He recently went to an auction and he took a couple of the clocks to the auction, and they weren't selling. It depends on the auction as to what is going to sell and what isn't. And this particular auction, the people just were not interested in these clocks. And these clocks, like I said, two of them recently sold. Well, there are several that were listed on Goodwill, but I didn't follow them all. I only followed two of them. Like I said, one sold for about $200 plus shipping. One sold for about $150 plus shipping. Anytime you buy something on Goodwill, because they don't offer international shipping, if you were to buy the same item on eBay, it would cost you 2 to 3 times what it costs on Goodwill. One of the reasons why, because the items that you purchase on Goodwill are not guaranteed to work. Because people at Goodwill don't know anything about working on clocks. Or, I can't say everyone, but a lot of people don't know anything about working on clocks. So now I need to take the power down. Putting a key, putting my homemade tool, giving it a twist, and then releasing the click, which is right here, and letting the tool spin in my hand slowly. And if you need a break, let go of the click and take yourself a break. Strike side power is down. Now I need to do the time side power. Same system. Put some power on it, move the click out of the way, and let it release in your hand. Power's down. I really want to take this piece off here. It looks like it unscrews. I don't want to break nothing. Finding the right screwdriver. And there we go. It does unscrew. And now I could take this piece off. Now it's time to take a bunch of pictures. When you take your pictures, you want to take them all the way around, both the front plate, the rear plate, the sides, all the way around. And you want to check out your pictures to make sure that everything looks good. Now I want to point out two things in this movement. I get something to point with. This lever right here that activates the count wheel is this lever right here, which is this lever right here. So it's the middle lever. This up here is just a spring, and it's not actually doing anything, so it needs to be adjusted so it actually pushes down on that, so the lever actually goes into the count wheel. The gong is stopped by this thin piece of wire right here. The gong has this spring right here that it catches on. As I lift the gong, you'll see that wire. On the other side, where it catches on, is what's considered the 8-point star wheel, where that lever, that flat piece of metal here, catches the 8-point star wheel. Maybe that helps you out. Here's the flat lever. Here's the 8-point star wheel. Here's the spring that catches the gong. If the spring was on the other side of that lever, you see, watch the gong. It bounces. So if you put the spring in the proper spot, and then activate the gong, you see how fast it bounces? That's the vibration that you want. Imagine if you put it on this side, it would still gong, but it wouldn't gong as loud. So if you have a problem with it gonging loud, you put it on that side. That way it'll gong louder. So, like I said, it's time to take this movement apart. The cool thing about this movement is when I take these keepers down off for the great wheel, I could slide the great wheel right out of the movement. And there's a lot of oil and junk all over this great wheel. It needs serviced. I can't think of the name of these parts, but the groove goes up, and look at all the oil that's all over that wheel. Doing the same thing, and these are not marked. My movement, because this is the time side, I'm putting a T on the barrel cap, and that stands for time side. A lot of your old timers, and I guess I consider myself an old timer, do what I just did. Again, there's all kinds of oil and stuff all over this. S for strike side. Whether they're interchangeable or not, I honestly don't know. They look like they are, but again, it's just a good habit to get into. That way you put the thing back together the way it needs to be. In order to get the wheel off here, remember this is a count wheel movement. It's not a rack and snail movement. In order to get the hour wheel off, you have to take this bracket here off. And that bracket has a pivot hole for the little wheel. There's a pivot hole right here for this little wheel. Our wheel So anyway, we got those wheels off. And the next step is take this cannon pin off. And this is what trips the clock to go into strike mode. You got these two pins, one for the hour and one for the half hour. You take that off, and now you have to start taking these little tapered pins out of these gears, and this would be a good time to take another picture so you know where these levers go when you put them back together. And like I said, this lever right here is for the count wheel. One of these two pins trips that lever, as you can see when I rotate the cannon wheel, which is this wheel right here. This in turn trips the count wheel, which in turn starts the strike mode. So these tapered pins are kind of sharp. So they might break when I take them off. There's one, which allows me to take this lever off, hopefully. Well, it should come off. There we go. And then taking this taper pin out. And again, this taper pin right here is the actual lever that trips the count wheel. This one This tab here is what hits the third wheel warning pin to stop the clock from striking. Well, that one went blind. And that's off. I'm going to go ahead and take, if I can, sometimes these clicks don't want to come off, but I want to take the clicks off because there's a bunch of oil all over this plate. So I want to make sure I clean it up really well. The next step I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Verge and crutch assembly apart. By taking this bracket off. And then the Verge and crutch assembly, which has adjustable pallets. You got these two screws, and you don't want to adjust those pallets. They're preset at the factory. If they were broken, you can replace them. And you want to make sure that they're cleaned up and that they're flat at an angle, if that makes sense. They're at an angle, if you could see that. And so you want to file them off to make sure that they're nice and flat. And I'm going to take the gong hammer off. It also has a tapered pen. And a lot of times these clocks, because people bend this wire, a lot of times this wire gets broken, and a lot of times it's soldered where it connects to the movement. And I'm going to take this wire assembly off that stops the gong. This wire assembly right here, that's what stops the gong. And the count wheel typically has a pin on it. I do not see that pin. So, anyway, the next step I'm going to do is take these 4 pins off to remove the front plate. And a lot of times these pins go flying. So I have a video of how I make tapered pins. Because sometimes they go into no man's land. Last one. So now I should be able to lift up this plate and show you all the gears, if I'm careful enough. And just Mike, in all his videos, he uses these movement stands all the time. I didn't buy my stands. My friend who gave me this clock, he has a whole bunch of them. And he gave me my stand. So that's where all the gears are. Your main gears here. Here's your second wheel. This is on the time side. Your second wheel. Your third wheel. And the escapement wheel has already fell off. Your escapement wheel. And this is the minute wheel with minute arbor center wheel right here. But on the strike side, we have your second wheel, which is connected to something. It's connected to the count wheel. I told you that doesn't want to come off. So we're going to go from the top. You got your governor fan. The third wheel with warning pin is always connected to the governor fan. And there is the warning pin right there. This would be the this wheel also has a warning pin on it. Your star wheel, and of course, you got these pieces right here that connect for the count wheel. And you got a bunch of smudge on this. Again, this is the minute arbor center wheel. But you got a bunch of oil and smudge all over this stuff. So we're going to take this to the kitchen first and clean the plates up with Dawn dish detergent and water and a sponge, and then we'll take it to the ultrasonic cleaner. And I'll probably take a toothpick to all the holes before I put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Or I might do it afterwards. Either way, it will get done. Looking at the count wheel under a better magnifying glass, I noticed that it wasn't all the way shoved down. So I took it off. And there's a hole right here for the pen that goes on there. And there's scribe marks on the end of this count wheel where a pen was shoved in. And so that's why I knew that the count wheel wasn't on all the way. But anyway, I was able to get it off, and so we'll clean it up. and hopefully it'll shove on all the way. But right now there's a bunch of grease and junk in there. As far as the main gears themselves, using just Mike's technique, where you take a wrench or a screwdriver or something and hit the bottom of the main gear here, it's going to pop the barrel cap off. At least it's supposed to. I don't want to damage it, so I'm going to do it the way I always have done it. And you take and you hit it against a block of wood like so. And that puppy is been on there for a while. Now, they make tools, and they make a tool that will, you put in this hole right here, and you pry up on it. That works for gears that have been serviced every 5-6 years, like they're supposed to be serviced. But when you get a main gear like this, and you take that tool and you pry up, from experience, you're going to damage the cap. So I wouldn't recommend doing it. I'm going to put on some gloves. Took my ball peen hammer, one tap, came right off. I'm going to leave a link to just Michael Anderson's YouTube videos at the end of this video. But I really like watching his YouTube videos. He is not afraid to work on a clock that he's never worked on before. So anyway, you take the spring out. You can wear gloves if you want. It'll start coming out. If you've never done one of these before, I highly recommend that you wear gloves. There's a hold in the very end of the spring that fits into a a pen that's in this cap, and that pen is on the other side of this brass area here. That's what catches that spring. There's a lot of oil and stuff in there, and so I'm going to go clean this up, and then we'll get back to you. And if you want to know how I clean them up, I've got other videos out there that show you how I clean up the springs. But what you do is up to you. These videos is only to give you an idea of what to do. What you do to repair your clock is up to you. I give you my year's experience. Some people like what I'm doing, some people don't. But I started collecting clocks in '99, and all that time frame, I've only taken a clock to a clock repair person on 2 different occasions. One was a 1908 Gustav Becker torsion clock that I bought over in England. I took it to a clock repair friend of mine who repaired it for me. I've never worked on a torsion clock at that time frame. And another time frame, I promised Aunt a clock that I bought over in England if she did something. And anyway, I was working at the time. I took the clock to a local clock repairman. I paid him something like $350, $400 to repair this granddaughter clock. My aunt never saw the clock working. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I got the burst spring cleaned up, which is the strike side. And when you put these back together, you have to remember that the part that you put the key on, it goes straight up. So it can't go that way. It goes straight up because it comes out the barrel cap. So you start by putting the loop end of the spring to catch that tab that I was telling you about. That tab is right here. Anyway, you start by putting the spring in to catch that tab, and once you catch that tab, you just start beating the rest of the spring in. And again, I would highly recommend that you wear gloves if this is your first time doing this. Or even if this is your second time doing this. Or third, because these springs can break, and one day it's gonna break on me. I'm gonna get hurt. I'm gonna be mad. But it would be my stupidity because I'm not wearing gloves. But again, don't do as I'm doing, do as I say. I don't like the gloves. I know it's a poor excuse, but Anyway, once you get it to a certain point, you can wind up or squeeze the rest of the spring and it'll go in for you. I'm not to that point yet. So I have to continue putting it in. There we go. So now I can put the end of the arbor through that hole and then find a hole in this piece of wood, and I'm going to hit this. You see how much the spring is, it's got layers, different layers. They're not even. But when I hit it like this, it's going to make them all even. As long as I hit the hole itself. You see how it made it all even? So now I can put the barrel cap on. But before I put the barrel cap on, I went to oil this spring. So getting my trusty oil and my oiler, which I told you I use a toothpick, just put some oil on the toothpick and spread it around the spring in a couple of different spots. You don't need to over oil it like it was when I took it apart. Just put about a few drops in about 5 different spots, like you're changing a tire, is a good way to explain it, I guess. And then I got oil on my fingers and I don't want it all over the place. And then you put the barrel cap back on. You just start it and work your way around. As long as you got it started right. I'm having trouble seeing. I think I'm going to take a break. The reason why I was having so much trouble with the other one is because there's a ridge around this barrel. That's where the barrel cap comes and sits. And if the spring is above that ridge, then the cap will not go on. So this one should go on a lot easier. Just like that. And so if you're having trouble putting your barrel cap on, make sure that ridge is is free. And so, like I said, the cap will not go down if the spring is sticking above that ridge. And some people say that this hole has to be lined up with where that piece is that catches the spring. From my experience, no, it don't. However, remember I was telling you that there's a tool that pries these caps off. When I first started out, I was prying the caps off. And I came across one where the cap didn't want to come off. And I was sitting there trying to pry it off, and it didn't want to come off, no matter what I did. And I end up bending the cap to where the only way that the cap would fit on was a certain spot. So in a case like that, you might want to mark where that hole is. That way you don't have trouble putting the cap back on, because the previous person might have bent the cap and the cap only fits on one way. That's what I'm getting at. Here's a German Vienna regulator clock that sold for $138.75 plus shipping. Very similar to the one that I'm working on. Here's another one that sold for $196.99 plus shipping. Again, very similar to the one that I'm working on. As you can see, that's how it's mounted. But it has the, that's bottom piece, sorry. Mine's got that. Here's one on eBay that sold for $300 plus another $70 in shipping. The ones that sell for more money is the one that have weights. This one sold for $390 plus another $110 in shipping. But you can see it has weights. And it has the second hand also. Cable driven, weight system, Vienna regulator. Here's one that sold for $125 plus $85 in shipping, so a little over $200. But it's a moth and son. Totally different style movement. And that's why I think that mine is worth more. The tops cost quite a bit of money. Here's one that sold for $80. Here's one that sold for $75, $100 to include shipping. That was a little over $100. But then you have the cream of the crops. There's Augusta Becker Sonoria chimes. I can get the thing to come up. And here's some that are similar. They're in the $2,000 range, but this one sold for $2,500 plus $250 in shipping. But cable driven, weight driven. Sorry. Look how beautiful this thing is. Some of the cream of the crop. So, just to give you an idea of what they sell for. Here's one. It's a 2-weight system. I sold for $875 plus another $120 in shipping. AJ time and strike, German Regulator, weight driven with cables. Beautiful clocks. Here's some more Westminster chimes, Hermel Movement, Germany. They're newer style clocks, but you're still looking at $300. And the parts alone can be expensive. So for my friend to give me a clock that is worth that much money, it's extremely nice of him. Do a search on HTHM clock, even in the NAWCC, and you don't find anything. Like I said, I think this clock is quite valuable myself. So I had the all the holes pegged out with toothpicks. Got the movement all cleaned up. The Verge and crutch assembly I cleaned up. The escapement wheel I took my Arkansas stone to and polished up the pivots. Putting the clock back together. On a side note here, because there are two wheels that have pins, the third wheel warning pin, third wheel warning wheel with pen, as you can see, it's on the top, where this other wheel, the pen is facing toward the shaft. Rotate this thing so you can see it. So the third wheel warning pin wheel, like I said, it always goes toward it's always connected to the fly. Don't ever get old. Hard to see. One thing that I like doing is what I consider a tilt test to see if the any of the wheels need bushings. If the wheel tilts so far that it's touching the movement, it definitely needs a bushing. Some people say 10%, some people say 20% tilt, but I don't go to that extreme. But Now it's time to put this movement back together. And again, I say this in other videos, the whole object here is to get the nuts started. So you have to find your high spot to get it going. Once you get the 4 nuts started, the rest of it is a piece of cake. Sorry, in this case, it's not nuts, it's those pins. Putting the pivots in where they need to be and I want to look at something because something don't look right. That's why it don't look right. I had it upside down. Duh, Mark. It's going to be hard to do this on camera. And y'all are not going to see too much, so we'll come back. Sorry. I will say, because it's a pinned movement, that if you have a couple of these, you can give it a little bit of pressure. That way the movement will stay in place as you work the pivots into the pivot holes. If you had nuts, like I was saying before, the object is to put all 4 nuts on, but because this is a older movement, it's a pin movement, you can't put the pins in because you're going to end up breaking something. So use a couple of clamps or something like this, and the more pivots you put in, the more pressure you can tighten it up with. Here I have the wheels back in, and I have to put the rest of the parts on. Remember I told you the count wheel has got the hole to put a pin in it. Hopefully, maybe you could see it. Anyway, there's a pin that goes right there. So I have to get out a pin from my supplies to put it in. I'm hoping I got the clock timed properly. I'm not for sure. I might have to take some parts back out to get it timed. You can purchase these little brass pins from Time Savers. They're basically a one-time type system. They're really cheaply made. They were made in India, and so this count wheel, it's got a really small hole on it. So this pin should fit. It needs a little persuasion. Trap from the other way. There we go. As you can see, the pin is in there. And I'm not going to cut it off until I see whether or not the clock is in time. The next thing I need to do is put on the gong lever, and it goes right here on this piece, and it also takes a pin and the pin that came with it, I guess I could use it over. It's kind of a smashed pen. I need to straighten it out. It's bent up. And it's really small, so maybe I could straighten it out. You see how bent it is? Let me see what I could do to straighten it out. Too small to put in my drill. And probably gonna waste a lot of time trying to straighten this thing out. Probably be just better to get another one of my brass pens out to straighten it out. But other than straightening it out, is what I meant to say. There, that should fit. Maybe. Yeah. I'm getting another pen out because that thing is so bent up. I'm just going to use another brand new pen. And the hole is bigger than what this pen is, but if you make the pen into an S, it'll stay where it belongs. I wish I had better light in my room here. I have trouble seeing sometimes. And I'm sure y'all do too. Well, I know you do, because that's one of my biggest complaints. But a person's got to do what a person's got to do. So anyway, I got that pen on. So the next step is to put that wire that holds the gong in place. This piece right here. There's kind of like indentations where that clamp, the brass piece that the wire goes onto, there's not indentations, but discoloring on the movement to where that brass section went. So I put it in the same place, or tried to. So the next step is to turn the movement back over and work on the front plate. But I need my legs on this side. So I need to work on this side now. Now this is the front side of the movement. And this piece right here, which would be considered the lift lock lever on a cuckoo clock, and it has this tab to hit the third wheel warning pin, goes here. And this piece right here, which lifts the lever out of the count wheel, goes right here. And they're also pinned in. So I got some new pins to put in them. Again, the hole for this pin is too big, and that's where you bend that pin into an S so it doesn't come out. Remember I told you that this spring right here is to push this lever down. Well, it's not doing its job, so I'm going to loosen the screw to reposition that spring so it does its job. And now, as you can see, when I lift up on this, the spring pushes it back down. Just want to tighten these pins up more so they don't come out. So I think the next step would be putting the cannon pinion, which has the two tabs on it, which those two tabs will lift the lift lock lever here. And you put that down, and then I'm looking at my pictures as we go along. I see a little bit of grease on here, and I don't want it on there. It's dirt. That looks better. And this wheel here, I have to put on first because it is what catches the cannon pinion. and I wasn't paying attention, the pinion gear, which is this gear right here, has to go up in the air because it connects to the hour pipe. But this is what holds that wheel down. So I need to figure out which screws it is. It goes in there because there's many different screws in this movement. Starting one screw and then putting the other screw in and getting it started before I tighten them down. And then turning the wheels to make sure it rotates, which it does. So now I can tighten these screws down. And I've oiled everything else, but I have to oil that pivot there. My oiler, dipping it in some oil, and it's oiled. I'm going to go ahead and if I can find it. Just put just a dab of grease on this shaft. Whether it's right or not, I don't know. But it's my clock and I want to put it on there. That grease might collect more dirt than what I want it to collect. Putting the cannon pinion back on. Putting the hour pipe on. But y'all should have caught that. This part here cannot go on until the hour pipe is on. Because it has to fit underneath this bracket. Oops. You know, we all make mistakes. It's part of learning. If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Just fix it. So now I can put this bracket on. The screw doesn't want to go down right. I'm going to have to swap screws. I don't know why it's not going down right. So I'm going to turn it around this way. And see if that'll work. And now that works. Again, rotating the wheel to make sure it's turning. Can you see that? This is what I don't like about these feet. They didn't build them correctly. And you only have half of this distance to catch the plate. And when you go to tighten the hand bolts up, it comes off the plate. They should have made them bigger. I was wanting to see whether or not the clock goes into warning and chimes and all that. See, it came off again. I could have designed these things better. I also want to see whether the hour pipe, these hands are adjustable, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just being curious, I guess. Yeah, it goes off where it needs to. When I say they're adjustable, the way they're designed, the main portion of the hand is on this brass, I guess you'd call it a collar, and you could stick a wrench inside this hole, or you could take a pair of pliers and hold this as you turn the hand to get it exactly where you want it. And I say a wrench would work better because it goes onto a square shaft. If you put a square, like an Allen wrench or something like that in there, but it has to be perfectly square because you don't want to round out that area. But if you hold this, sometimes this one has a big enough collar on it that you can hold it and turn the hand, but a lot of them don't have a big enough collar, and it's hard to get a pair of pliers on it to adjust them. But anyway, the hands are adjustable, so you don't have to worry about whether or not this square tube is perfectly up in the air or not. But I was wanting to see, and I keep hitting the stupid thing is again, I keep hitting the wrong gear. I was wanting to see whether or not the chimes strike is working. I guess I'm going to have to put the main gear on, because if you watch my other videos, when I talk about a clock going into warning, well, the clock has to go into warning. The way it's set up currently, or the way it should be set up, is when the clock is done striking, the third wheel warning pin hits that lift lock lever tab, as I was telling you. I take that back. On this clock, when the clock is done striking, this goes into the cam. Then there's another wheel that has a pin on it, and it hits the end of this lever here. I'm trying to point this thing so y'all could see it. It hits the end of this lever right here that I'm moving. Look inside. You're going to see this black lever right here. And there's a pin that hits the end of that black lever when the clock is done striking. When the clock goes into warning at 5 minutes till the hour, the governor fan is going to rotate just a little bit, allowing that third wheel warning pin to hit the tab that's on the end of this lift lock lever. And that happens at 5 minutes till the hour, or thereabouts. And as the minute hand continues to rotate, when this lever drops, that third wheel warning wheel pin is no longer hitting that tab, and it allows the clock to strike. But in order for me to see whether it's set up right or not, I have to add, I don't know why I took this off, I have to add some power I have to add the springs to see whether it's those tabs are all set up right, is what I'm trying to get to. But before I do that, I also need to add the Verge and crutch assembly. Remember, this piece right here is what fits on. And then you got 2 screws that hold it down. And I believe that is one of the screws. I could be wrong. I am wrong because it don't fit in the hole. It must be these 2 screws over here. Some people separate their parts by item, I guess you would call it. I don't. I like working puzzles. And so the puzzles in a clock is what's exciting to me. But I have to figure out which screws they are. And here they are right here. Because they fit inside. Again, I'm trying to do all this on camera so y'all can see, or hopefully you can see, and I'm trying to talk to you all at the same time. You know, I get a lot of positive comments where people tell me, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then every so often, with positive, you get negative also. And I get negative comments also saying, you know, I can't see anything that you're doing, or you don't know what you're doing. To each his own. I need to, I left out my oil. I need to oil the Verge and crutch assembly pivots. and the entry and escapement pallet. Just a drop of oil on each pallet is all it takes. And then you rotate the wheel around. And I'm going to have to adjust the piece I just put on because the wheel's not rotating that well. That way you oiled the escapement wheel. So I'm going to take a break and then we'll come back and we're going to put the mainsprings in and see if the clock chimes right. So stay tuned. So now that we got the rear all put together, we need to put the main wheels in. Time side slides in, locks into place, and then you have your gears that go on. Then you have the keepers of the gears that go on, and they go this way. Then you have the screw that holds that gear into place. And then you have your click that goes into place. And this screw that is deformed, well, it's not deformed, it's just different from all other screws, is what holds your click on. And then strike side. Remember I marked them T and S. It just falls right into place. the click. Voila, the movement is put together. And I meant to tell you that this has got an adjustable crutch system on it. And so these are fixed. They do not move up and down as other clocks. That is what the screws in the pallets are for. But remember I told you, do not mess with them? Okay, I'm going to show this to you a couple of times. I got the spring wound up. And I want you to pay attention to the governor fan here. At 5 minutes till the hour, the governor fan moved a little bit, which allowed the third wheel warning pin to move to hit the tab on the lift lock lever, which is right here. This is the lift lock lever. It is that's the lever that hits those two pins on the cannon pinion on the half hour and the hour. So right now it's 5 minutes till the hour. The third wheel warning pin is hitting this tab. Now watch the governor fan and compare to the the minute hand. On the hour, the lift lock lever is going to drop to this space right here, which will allow that third wheel warning pin to turn. So it's turning, it's striking right now. Okay, same way on the half hour. At 5 minutes at 25 minutes after, the third wheel warning pin is, the governor pin is going to move to allow the third wheel warning pin to hit the lift lock lever, which is raising up in the air. I gotta get it out of the way from the piece of wood. Governor fan moved. The third wheel warning pin is now hitting that lift lock lever. And then as the hand continues to turn on the half hour, that lift lock lever will drop, allowing the governor fan to spin, allowing the clock to strike. So at 5 minutes till the hour, the governor fan is going to spin, allowing that third wheel warning pin to hit that tab, on that lift lock lever. You should be able to see right down there the third wheel warning pin is hitting that tab on the lift lock lever. It's right, if I can get to it, it's right there at the end of the toothpick. The third wheel warning pin is hitting that tab on the lift lock lever. Then on the hour, it moves out of the way, allowing the clock to strike. This tab is going on the count wheel, and then it drops into the slot, which in turn allows the pin that's on this wheel right here, if I can move the governor pin out of the way so you can see it, this pin right here is hitting this lever right here, the very end of it. So the clock is put together correctly as far as the strike. The next step I have to do is to add after I find it, that part that went onto here that I told you was part of the Verge and crutch assembly. And because I wound up the mainspring, see right now the clock is not ticking away, but if I was to move this crutch assembly some, it starts ticking away. That's because it has a clutch system on it. Okay, I put the crutch assembly together. Now this screw that goes into the base of the main crutch assembly coming out of the clock has only got threads on it. And that's because this has to be able to move back and forth like that. So if I was to put this on this block of wood here, as you can see, it's ticking away. And these posts are there for a reason. They I guess don't want the crutch assembly going past, and that's why they put these posts on there. I don't like the way it's not in the middle of that assembly. So I'm gonna bend it slightly, probably break it. Now it's getting in the middle. That's where it needs to be. Without a pendulum on, I put my beat amplifier on. It's probably not going to be that accurate, but you'll be able to hear partial. It don't quite sound right. So. And that sounds better to me. But again, You have to have the pendulum on for it to be accurate. But now it's time for me to clean up the case. I hope y'all are enjoying this video, and I hope that you're learning things. Here I have the movement just sitting on this old stereo of mine with the pendulum. Sounds pretty good. Now using Howard bead and wax. Why? Because that's just what I grabbed. I cleaned up the case, but the door is coming apart. So I'm going to have to glue it back together. So I'm going to put the movement in the case without the door on it. But as you can see, it is still ticking away right there on my stereo system. And it sounds pretty good. So I'm going to have to put the dial on, put that bracket on that holds that movement into the case. And so stay tuned. So now it's time to put the dial back on the clock. I made up these pens, and I got a video out there that shows you how to make up these tapered pens. I didn't want to use the tapered pens that came with it because they were all bent up and everything. So putting the pins in the holes, and they're too big, but I knew that. I just wanted to get the pins out started, and again those legs fall off on me. Give it a little tap so it stays in. Putting the next pin in. Again, it's too big, so I'm cutting some off. Giving a little tap so it stays in. The next pen, this last pen is still too long for me, so I'm going to cut some more off. And then the last pen. I don't like it going past the dial bezel. So as you can see, 4 brand new pens. And they're not all bent up. So now it's time to put the hands on. But in order for me to go ahead and put this bracket here on first, I guess. But I can't do that because the leg is in the way. So I'll go ahead and put the hands on. Hour hand first. But before I can put the minute hand in the right spot, I have to figure out where it needs to go. So I'm just going to put it on temporarily and turn it. It went into warning there. I believe that was the half hour. The hour hand is underneath the bezel, so I gotta fix that. Now we're going to see what time it is. It's dropping, and it shouldn't be dropping. So that tells me that there's not enough pressure on that minute wheel with minute pinion, as I would call it. So I have to take this dial back off. And figure out why the hand is dropping. There should be some tension on something. You see it dropping? It shouldn't drop like that. The wheel is falling free. So there is a washer. I've got 3 washers. I take that back. I've got 2 washers. And I don't think that when I put these washers on that it's going to provide enough pressure to prevent that from dropping, but it might. So I'm going to put these on with it out of the case. I don't have any parts left. And that's exactly what it was. It needed some pressure on the minute wheel arbor. So because it's out of the case, I'm going to go ahead and find out what time it is. There's the half hour. Here's the hour. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 o'clock. Again, why I don't like these things. They could have been made better. You see, as I turn, it wants to come off the movement. I could have made a better system than what they have. These things, they work on some movements, but on some movements they don't. So now let's take this back off. Put the dial back on. And then put all those pins back on. So I'm going to do that off camera. To me, the hardest part about this entire clock was putting this movement back into this case. It slides, on each side, it slides into these slots right here. There's a slot there, and then there's a slot over here, and then the thumb screws are on the outside of this bracket, and you tighten it up. But the hardest part was getting it adjusted for the gong. It was quieter because I had the case against that towel, and away from that towel it got louder. Now it's time to hang it up. Again, I'm running out of space. It's the entranceway to my bathroom, but as you can see, the clock is up and running. It's ticking away. It might be a little out of beat because trying to put that thing into the case was kind of a pain in the butt. So you can always adjust the beat by tilting the clock some. Trying to do everything with one hand. And as you can see, the Wooba clock that I was working on the other day is still ticking away. But anyway, I hope y'all liked this video. I hope y'all liked this video on me repairing this German wall hanger regulator clock. Please leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. Stick around. I don't know what I'm doing next, but it will be exciting, and we will learn things. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it's free. And check out my friends' YouTube channels that I will leave in the links above. Just Mike as I mentioned in the throughout this video, and Seth Linkfelter. I don't have Seth's shirt on today. I just grabbed the shirt out of my closet. I'm usually wearing his shirts. I love his designs. And a lot of people think that I just know how to repair cuckoo clocks. A lot of y'all heard this story before, but I started collecting clocks in '99. I purchased a couple of cuckoo clocks. I worked on my own clocks. When it came time for the cuckoo clock, because I've been repairing German clocks and French clocks and English-made clocks, I just put the cuckoo clock to the side because I thought they were cheaply made, and I just didn't want to work on them. Couldn't figure them out. It wasn't until after I had to quit my job in 2015, in 2019 is when I decided to pick up that clock that I bought back in 1999 and figure out how to work on it. And so I went cuckoo for cuckoo clocks. So now I'm posting videos on repairing cuckoo clocks, but I have more than just cuckoo clocks. I have all kinds of clocks. There's clocks all over my house. There's a French clock there. There's a lot of people might have seen this, but that's a Busey clock. Here's a French Marlborough clock. I have clocks all over my house. I'm single. I'll do what I want. But I have grandfather clocks. Clocks all over my house. And you will see, well, hope maybe you can see, but up there is a bunch of torsion clocks. And I can repair them. I'm not an expert in them. Torsion Dell, and I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel in the description of this video. Derek, he is my group expert on torsion clocks. He repairs them for a living, lives in the UK. He is the expert on torsion anniversary, 400-day, 1,000-day clocks, whatever you want to call them. He is the expert. He knows how to get them going. I can repair them. I have done it, but I'm not an expert. I don't consider myself an expert on any clock repair, but I just want to let you know that I know more than just cuckoo clocks. Like I said, I repair my own clocks. There's only been 2 times in my life that I hired somebody to repair a clock. Once because I was working 7 days a week away from my house, 12, 15 hours a day, driving 200 to 300 miles, and I wanted to give a clock to my aunt who's now passed away. I hired a local guy to repair this grandmother clock. She's never seen it work. I have to work on it. I had it ticking at one time, but I wouldn't recommend the guy to anybody. But and the very first time I hired somebody to work on a clock, it was a torsion clock. I bought it at an auction over in England, a dis auction. Right here, it's one of the books, Thomas W.M. Gaze and Son. The auction was on Fridays. I would go on Thursday nights. see something I liked, I put in silent bids, and they would call me Saturday to say whether I need to come pick up anything or not. I bid on this torsion clock. It's a 1908 Gustav Becker. I paid 15 pounds for it. At the time, that would have been about $20, $22, something like that. The exchange rate was $1.72 to the British pound. So took it to a friend of mine who repaired clocks. He told me he was at that auction, and if he would have seen that clock, I wouldn't have gotten the clock. It's about a $500 clock. I take that back. Clock prices have dropped. I don't know whether that clock is still worth $500, but at the time, it was worth $500. So anyway, hit that subscribe button. That way you get notified next time I put out a video. And may God bless each and every one of you.